Millions of Americans who are behind on their rent could soon be evicted. That's after the CDC's eviction moratorium expired over the weekend. Senators have rolled out a nearly $1 trillion infrastructure package. That's after they hammered out the details in a rare Sunday session. Going forward, there's expected to be a long debate over the bipartisan bill. And 10 Republican senators introduced a bill to investigate how the CDC creates official guidance about the virus. This follows new advice from the CDC on fully vaccinated Americans wearing masks indoors. Tune in to Deep Dive as we explore these topics and more. Hello and welcome. This is Deep Dive and I'm Tiffany Meier. Millions of Americans are uncertain about their housing future. That's after the CDC's eviction moratorium ended. House Democrats rushed to extend it, citing the rise of the Delta variant. But the motion failed. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said Sunday that no one can blame Republicans for the federal eviction ban expiring because Democrats hold a majority in the House.
The House and House leadership had the opportunity to vote to extend the moratorium. And there were many, and there was frankly a handful of conservative Democrats in the House that threatened to get on planes rather than hold this vote.
In June, the Supreme Court ruled that any extension of the ban would have to be approved by Congress. Last week, at the last minute, President Biden called on Congress to act.
And the White House waited until the day before the House adjourned to release a statement asking on Congress to extend the moratorium. I believe a needlessly difficult situation.
Democrat Representative Cori Bush camped outside the Capitol Saturday night. She's frustrated the House leaders didn't do more.
This is our way of saying, hey, House leadership, reconvene us like we're still here. Do something. We can't take vacation right now.
Some background, Trump signed an executive order last August to protect renters, and the CDC added a freeze on evictions in September. It's been extended 3 times, but landlords have pushed back against it, noting they've already taken up the burden of shouldering $27 billion in unpaid rent. Under pressure, landlords are getting ready to file eviction papers in local courts. A new report says nearly 2 million U.S. renter households owe more than $15 billion in back rent. Michael Minnie from the Chicagoland Apartment Association told the Epoch Times they are working with tenants to set up specialized payment plans, waive late fees, and extend grace periods to help those who are struggling. Congress approved nearly $47 billion in federal housing aid to states, but that program failed spectacularly. As of June, only $3 billion has been used. It was up to the states to divide up the money, but there's been struggles to set up programs to do so. The White House and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi have called on states to get that money to landlords and tenants. Democratic Senator Joe Manchin says he agrees.
First of all, the money's already there, as you said. Why didn't it go out the door? I can't tell you that.
I don't know.
But to put blame on anybody right now, let's fix that and make sure that we're able to use the money for the purpose it was appropriated for.
So what happens next? Some states have extended their own eviction moratoriums to try and help. But according to the Census Bureau, over 8 million adults remain behind on rent or mortgage payments as of July 5th. And the Senate worked through the weekend in a rare session to hammer out details in the bipartisan infrastructure package.
I want to congratulate the members of the bipartisan group for their efforts.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer announcing Sunday that a bipartisan group of senators has finalized the legislative text of the roughly $1 trillion infrastructure bill.
We haven't done a large bipartisan bill of this nature in a long time.
The massive bill, coming in at more than 2,700 pages, is a result of months of negotiation, with Democrats and Republicans finally reaching a deal last week. It includes about $500 billion in new spending over the next 5 years, going to several key projects in the nation's infrastructure. Republican Senator Mitt Romney on the Senate floor cheering progress on the bill.
Enjoyed the time we've had together. This is a bill which is paid for and that gives the American people say they desperately need, and that is an upgrade in our infrastructure.
And also taking to Twitter to underscore the bipartisan nature of that progress. Schumer took the procedural step of submitting the group's text as the substitute amendment, making it the base of the bill. The Senate will consider additional amendments to the bipartisan framework. Republican Senator Susan Collins says she believes at least 10 GOP senators will back the bill, which should be enough for it to clear the Senate.
This bill is good for America.
Moderate Democrat Joe Manchin suggests the bill may gain substantial Republican support.
It's something that every state, every area of every state needs.
But some Republicans oppose the bill, saying it costs too much.
I rise today because I've got real concerns with this bill. There are a number of Americans who see that all is not well with the way we spend money.
The bill's fate in the House is uncertain, as some Democrats have said that it shouldn't be passed unless a massive $3.5 trillion bill is guaranteed. Republicans oppose that massive bill. That includes climate and social programs. The GOP points to its price tag while inflation is rising. But so far, senators have shown support for the infrastructure bill, with procedural votes having a 66-28 margin in favor of it. Speaking of bills, Senator Marco Rubio and 9 other Republicans introduced a bill to investigate the CDC's decision-making and messaging about the virus. They announced the legislation after the CDC recommended that fully vaccinated Americans should wear masks indoors in areas where the virus is prevalent. In a statement, Rubio says the new guidelines make little sense and don't seem to be based on any clear scientific data. He says Americans have spent the last year and a half making tremendous sacrifices to halt the virus's spread, but they are confused and have lost trust in our institutions. The bill would have the Government Accountability Office Audit show how the CDC comes up with official guidance and if the CDC's public messaging has negatively impacted Americans' trust in the institution. A viral Twitter thread last week highlighted how the CDC and Dr. Anthony Fauci gave contradictory information and advice repeatedly throughout the pandemic. CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky defending the new guidance. She says vaccines prevented people with COVID-19 from spreading the virus before, but that changed with the Delta variant.
But here's the new science we saw in the last several days, corroborated by several different outbreak investigations. And that is, if you are vaccinated and you happen to be one of those rare breakthrough infections, you in fact can pass disease to others.
The Republicans' bill would also seek to determine if outside groups influence the CDC's decision-making. Another sponsor of the bill is Senator Cynthia Lummis. She says the CDC's decisions have become politicized and have resulted in a more divided country. The bill is unlikely to pass since no Democrats have come out in support of it. And now, while fears of the Delta variant have been sparking mask and vaccine mandates, some are wondering if a second lockdown is coming. Top U.S. infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci signaled that the White House doesn't want to re-implement COVID-19 lockdowns amid a surge in cases of the Delta variant. Fauci said on ABC's This Week that he does not expect the U.S. to return to lockdowns, despite the Delta variant.
I don't see that at all happening.
Fauci's comments on Sunday follow a recent interview with Reuters, during which the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases said he did not see there being a nationwide vaccine mandate either, but hoped that full FDA approval for vaccines would come this month and spur more Americans to get shots to slow a rising infection rate.
It's going up. How far up it goes is going to depend on how we as a society address it. The more people you get vaccinated, the less likely it's going to go up even more.
Although Fauci did not think the U.S. will need to shut down again, as it did last year, he warned on ABC that things are going to get worse as the Delta variant continues to spread. And many businesses and restaurants issue notices requiring employees and even customers to show proof of vaccination. And now in New York City, Broadway audiences will need masks and proof of vaccination. The Metropolitan Opera and Carnegie Hall also plan to restrict entry for children under 12. The Broadway League says all of New York City's 41 Broadway theaters will require guests, performers, and staff to be fully vaccinated against the virus through October. Masks are also required for audience members. The announcement comes days before Broadway's reopening after a 16-month lockdown. The league says it's making exceptions for people with medical conditions or religious beliefs that prevent vaccination, but they would still need proof of a negative virus test taken close to the show date. This comes as Governor Andrew Cuomo urged all private businesses on Monday to mandate vaccines.
Private businesses, bars, restaurants, go to a vaccine-only admission. I believe it's in your best business interest. You know, if I go to a bar and I want to have a drink and I want to talk to the person next to me, I want to know that that person is vaccinated. If I go to a restaurant and I'm sitting at a table and the table right next to me, I want to know that they're vaccinated. I believe it's in your business interest to run a vaccine-only establishment.
And one of the industries that changed a lot amid the pandemic is the movie industry. One area that used to be taboo has been opening up. That is, having a movie release simultaneously in theaters and on streaming platforms. And with the changing landscape, some issues are coming up, specifically how actors get paid. The star of Black Widow is seeing red over the movie's release on the Disney Plus streaming service. Scarlett Johansson filed a lawsuit Thursday accusing Disney of breaching her contract by not releasing Black Widow exclusively in theaters. The 36-year-old actress argues that her salary is tied to the box office gross, which she says is diminished by the film also being available on Disney Plus at home. While ticket sales got off to a very good start, revenue has since fallen off, which the star's lawyers blame on it being available to screen at home. Representatives for Scarlett Johansson claim Disney is more focused on gaining subscribers to its streaming platform than maximizing box office gross. Disney fired back by arguing the lawsuit is moot and called the lawsuit especially sad and distressing in its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Black Widow earned $80 million at its opening weekend at the box office, which is a record for pandemic times, but not great for a Marvel movie. But Black Widow also raked in $60 million from Disney Plus. Johansson's salary is largely tied to box office performance, and at-home releases don't fall under that category. But what do you think? Let me know below. Thanks for tuning in to Deep Dive. I'm Tiffany Meier, and see you soon.